Not just on Twitter, the president just conducted an interview with Fox News earlier today. They've just begun to air some of the segments from that interview. And in one of the chunks of the interview, the president denies the central piece of testimony from Michael Cohen, his former lawyer, who testified before a judge yesterday, explained to a judge yesterday that he committed a crime in conjunction with and at the direction of Donald Trump. Now, today, the president says that's just not true. Here's that excerpt.
Later on, I knew. Later on. But you have to understand, Ainsley, what he did, and they weren't taken out of campaign finance. That's a big thing. That's a much bigger thing. Did they come out of the campaign? They didn't come out of the campaign. They came from me, and I tweeted about it. You know, I don't know if you know, but I tweeted about the payments. But they didn't come out of campaign.
So you heard the president there. He was asked, did you know about the payments? And he says, later on I did. Later on I did. Michael Cohen testified yesterday that he committed that crime in conjunction with and at the direction of the president, which means that the president knew about it at the time that payment was made. Otherwise, Michael Cohen couldn't have made the payment at his direction. So a real division here on the facts of the case. And the president also arguing here that ultimately it can't be a campaign finance violation to issue a payment to a woman to keep quiet about a sexual affair because that has nothing to do with the campaign, according to the President of the United States. Clearly, prosecutors saw it very differently, and we saw the results of that yesterday, Tyler.
Where do those tapes of a conversation between Mr. Cohen and Mr. Trump on the matter of the payments, how does that fit into the timeline that Cohen paints and that Mr. Trump paints?
Well, it's clear that Mr. Cohen has a number of tapes, and it's also clear that investigators have heard those tapes. They confiscated those when they raided his office and his home earlier this year. That was a raid that caused the president an enormous amount of stress, and the president reacted angrily to it. Now, prosecutors presumably have copies of those tapes. They understand what, if anything, is on them. We haven't heard the full extent of all of it. What we know is that Cohen has released publicly a piece of the tape, which appears to be the president and Cohen discussing in person the idea of paying somebody for her silence. The context of it is not entirely clear, but that tape appears to have been taken before the payment was made, which would indicate, if that timeline lines up and can be verified, that the president knew about that payment before it was made, not, as he says today, later on. Later on he knew it.